Hey guys, and welcome to Petrol Ped, and welcome to the Seoul Mobility Show here in South Korea. So I'm here with Hyundai for the release of some really cool cars. The first up is the new hydrogen fuel cell Nexo, which we're going to have a look at. But I also thought it would be cool just to have a look around and see some of the key exhibits. But first up, let's talk hydrogen fuel cells and the Nexo. Now, first things first, it's been a while since I've been to a motor show. I kind of died a death after COVID, and I've forgotten just how elbows out you need to be to get anywhere near a car. So the unveil has taken place on Hyundai's stand. We've had the kind of press briefing, and now it's a case of trying to get close to the car. But the reason I'm interested in this car, I am a big fan of the whole concept of hydrogen fuel cell technology. I know there are many issues, especially to do with infrastructure. But actually, if you look outside of the UK, there are plenty of countries with pretty good hydrogen infrastructure, and therefore cars like this start to make more sense. This is the second generation Nexo, and I think the design itself is right up there. There's some really interesting tech as well. Okay, I'm going to seize my chance and walk you around this car as much as I can with my elbows out. I think the front end styling of this second generation Nexo is really cool. And I know there's going to be lots of doubters in there about the infrastructure and the powertrain, but design-wise, very cool. Now, the aspirations for this car, 700 kilometers of range, and then you can top up the hydrogen fuel tank in just 5 minutes, with a huge amount of usability. Wander around, you can kind of see some really nice bold styling, creases in the side, but underneath the bonnet, from the first generation Nexo, it's gone from 135 kilowatts to 190 kilowatts. That's 255 horsepower in old money. The battery output itself has doubled from 40 to 80 kilowatts. The battery size is a 2.64 kilowatt hour battery. And then the hydrogen fuel cell stack itself will produce 110 kilowatts, about 148 horsepower. Now there's a hydrogen tank underneath the boot floor. You can kind of see just how practical it is in there. The hydrogen fuel tank itself has gone up in size to 6.69 kilograms. Remember, when you're looking at hydrogen fuel cell cars, we talk about weight of hydrogen rather than literage, because it's under very high pressure indeed. Now, if I try and stick my camera into the inside and annoy some journalists and stuff, I'm sure, it's a really nice layout inside. Now, in that infotainment system, there's a new route planner which will help you navigate your way to hydrogen fuel stations. It has a vehicle to load capability. My friend there's just opened that up so I can offload electricity to this to other devices, whether that's, I don't know, vacuum cleaners, charging up my e-bike. And then the rear design is really bold. I see elements of Ioniq 5, Ioniq 6. I love this kind of lighting at the top there. It's a really clean, cool looking car. And I think in terms of Hyundai and their powertrain development, what was really interesting in the press conference today is they are most insistent on the fact that they're developing multiple powertrains in parallel. So they're still looking at their pure all-electric range, things like Ioniq 5, Ioniq 6, which has been refreshed, has got a facelift. We'll look at that in a moment. They're still looking at internal combustion engine cars, hybrid cars, and fuel cell cars. And I like that because they're kind of covering all of their bases. And I know fuel cells are very market specific, and if you don't live near a hydrogen fuel station, they're almost impossible to live with. Interestingly, they are bringing Nexo to the UK. I don't think it will be sold necessarily to members of the public, but what they'll look at is selling it to businesses that have their own hydrogen fuel cell infrastructure. So that might be transportation businesses where they have a hydrogen hub to fill up things like buses and heavy goods vehicles. And then for me, it's that groundswell of capability. The more we invest in hydrogen, especially for transportation of things like passenger service vehicles and light good and heavy goods vehicles, the more that passenger vehicles like that start to make sense. 700 kilometers on just a 5-minute plug-in, fill up your hydrogen fuel cell and off it goes. It's got pretty good performance as well. I'll kind of just walk around and the melee as we look at that. So performance-wise, it will do 0 to 62 in 7.8 seconds, which is a significant uplift from the previous Nexo, which only did it in 9.2. So it is an interesting car, this really interesting car. In South Korea, there are some 210 charge points, so it kind of makes more sense here. There are countries in mainland Europe, again, that have better hydrogen fuel cell or hydrogen infrastructure than the UK. And I did that video last year with Michelin. They're now opening the bonnet so we can have a quick look underneath that, if we can go there, so you can kind of see the fuel cell in there, which is really cool. Very, very smart. So I've now headed around the other side of the Hyundai stand where they've got the new facelift Ioniq 6 N line. Now, I've never been a massive fan of Ioniq 6, if I'm honest. I've always found the front end, I just struggled with the design. But they've changed the front end a lot. It's got this sleeker light signature at the top there, the main headlamp element underneath, and I think that sorts out the front end of the car a great deal. It's always looked like a very sleek and aerodynamic vehicle, and I think that's its forte, really. This car is also fitted with the rear cameras as door mirrors, and I'm not a big fan of those. I think in my video I gave them a pretty hard time. And then you wander around the back is less changed. It's just sleeker. It's got the same kind of droop with that little ducktail on the back. The really cool thing though is that they're doing an Ioniq 6 N, and it was leaked today in the press conference. That will be launched at Goodwood this year. So an Ioniq 6 N with the running gear from the Ioniq 5 N, 600 plus horsepower, 8-speed DCT fake gearbox, which is just brilliant. I think that's really going to be very, very interesting. So new Ioniq 6, let's have a wander around over here. Now, hopefully by now you've seen my video from earlier this week with this, the Instaroid, basically a design concept based on the Hyundai Insta, an absolutely bonkers machine. But at the moment, that is just a design concept. It doesn't move, it doesn't have a powertrain in it, it's just a model. But what isn't a model, because you may well have seen some videos on the internet of this thing, this is the RN24. It is a ridiculously cool machine, basically completely open to the elements. You've got an amazing steering wheel, incredible racing bucket seats, an exoskeleton. But what I hadn't really twigged, I've seen videos of this car being driven by Jethro from Top Gear, and it's an immense, epic thing. But if you look at the wheel arches and you look at the little vents on the top of the wheel arch, and you look at the rear wheel arch design here, and then you come over to the Instaroid and you look at that, it's very, very similar. There's a real design overlap. And that makes me think maybe, just maybe, they take the powertrain out of that and they put it into that. I don't think that would be too much of an ask. And I think that would be epic, but just look at it. What a thing. Absolutely mega bit of kit. I'd love to have a drive of this. I might have to ask very nicely and see one day. Maybe I could sit in that driver's seat just there. Now, whilst I've been invited out here to Korea by Hyundai Global PR, there are lots of kind of family brands, including Genesis. And Genesis have got a couple of reveals on the stand. the really cool thing, I haven't featured a Genesis car on the channel yet, but that is about to change. I should have had my first Genesis car in a couple of weeks' time, but I had a clash. In fact, no, I should have had it this week, but I've come away, so I decided to move the booking back. So I have got a Genesis car coming to the channel very, very soon, which I'm really excited about. I want to try and expand my brand portfolio this year to include new brands that I haven't done any work with yet, and Genesis is going to be the first of those. In fact, the Genesis press car I've got coming in a couple of weeks' time is one of these, a GV60. And it's a cool looking thing. So I'm really looking forward to getting behind the wheel of that, putting it through its paces. Just noticed it's on the right tyres as well. Excellent. So I had to come and have a look at the Porsche stand. Just look at this, what a beauty. But they have the new 992.2 GTS-T hybrid, but they've got it in a convertible. Now, I'm currently in a major hunt for a 911 convertible, and this would be the perfect car for me, but sadly it's way out of my budget. But an absolute stunner, in crayon as well, so it's even in the right colour. A really beautifully spec'd car, that. But yeah, sadly, I don't think one of them is going to be coming to the garage too soon. And then we've got the new Macan electric, the turbo. Brilliant car to drive, good car to look at. So over at the BYD stand, they're about to do their press conference, and underneath those covers, I think I can spy a bit of yang wang. Very cool. So Hyundai don't just do cars, they do really big 360s. Look at the size of this thing. It's absolutely huge. Very cool though. Just look at it. It's massive. That arm, I mean, the size of the bucket on the bottom of that is ridiculous. What a thing. I'd love to have a go in one of these. It'd be just awesome fun. So I had to come to the Mini stand to take a look at the new JCW F66. And I'm going to drop a little bit of a teaser here. There may well be some JCW action coming to the channel very, very soon. The most controversial part of this new JCW is the exhaust. That single exit exhaust, but actually, if you look up there, there's another exhaust exit just there as well. But yes, a really cool, very striking looking car. I love the little kind of canards and the kicks and the flicks. But yes, hopefully there'll be a really cool mini story coming to the channel very, very soon. So this is a Motability show, not just a car show. So we have all kinds of little autonomous vehicles driving their way around, mapping out things. We've got some small drones, or some little, basically, an aircraft drone with these rotor blades. And that's cool, right? The size of that thing. Oh no, that's just weird. There's a robot looking at me. That is just the weirdest thing. It's actually quite quick. Let's try and chase it down. Oh no, it's running back this way. How weird is that? Oh man, everywhere I go, there are 911 GTS convertibles. This one's nice, got a little canards on the front of that. Lovely. Damn! Now this is two-wheeled cool. A hubless e-bike. And actually, if you look closely, the tyres are airless as well. Look, that's really, really interesting. To have no inner part to the wheel at all. You can just see around the outside. You've got the disc brake. Then on the back, and that I've never seen anything like it. That is cool. So we've had EVs, we've had e-bikes, and now we've got an e-boat. Yeah, that is an electric propulsion boat, and it's pretty big, to be fair. Wow. So I've headed over to the Kia stand to take a look at this, the Tasman X Pro. What a badass looking car this is. Absolutely epic thing. Real outdoor adventure with the flatbed and the cover. That is pretty cool. In fact, over here, the one on the stand's even cooler. So this has got, on the top there you can see a ski rack, it's got winches, equipment boxes, wider wheels and tyres. Absolutely mega looking thing. Wow. Try and get some elbows out and come down here, annoy people, walk in front of them. It's probably the easiest car I've had to point a camera at so far, to be honest, because it's on stage. It's not surrounded by thousands of Korean influencers. Look at that. What a thing. Well, that is easily the largest Playmobil person I've ever seen in my life. But the reason that Kia have got that on this stand is because of the PV5, which they've just launched here. So this is basically a commercial van. I guess going toe-to-toe with the likes of Transit, but a really cool looking thing. That front design language here, you can kind of see that Opposites United side of things that you see in EV3 and EV9 now on the front of a commercial vehicle. Now clearly I don't really do commercial vehicles on the channel, but it's a really important place for Kia to be. Huge amounts of space in the back here. Flat floor because of the battery architecture, I guess. Super easy. Amazing. Now this is my first look at the EV4 from Kia. And I've got to say, initial impressions are, I really like it. It's got a really nice, sleek design. This rear end though, what's that remind me of? There's a little bit of 2 Series BMW in there. There's a little bit of EV3 and EV9. That satin paintwork just makes the car stand out. Really interesting, bold design. If I can just annoy this chap here and stick my camera inside while he's taking some stills. Very familiar cockpit area. Having had an EV3 very recently, you've got the little table that pulls out. Those seats. It's nice. I like that a lot. Really smart. Well, there you go. That is a quick walk round the Seoul Mobility Show here in South Korea. Brilliant little event. It's not massive in terms of scale. All the key players that I expected to be here are here. Some really interesting cars. Clearly a big presence from Hyundai, Kia and Genesis, with them being the home brands, if you like. Really, really enjoyed it. I need to get my hands on a Nexo. I'm really, really excited by that car. I think it's going to be, I won't say game changer, because I think the game is such a long game with hydrogen fuel cell technology. But yeah, some really cool stuff. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. A very kind of rough and ready, elbows out, gun and run kind of video. But if you did, please give me a thumbs up. Comments below are always welcome. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to Petrol Ped for plenty more content to come. I can hear another launch going on in the background over there, BYD I think. Anyway, you take care guys, drive safe.